Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you guys for joining me this week. This is going to be the astro weather for the week of August 10th through the 17th, 2025. Major headlines, obviously we have got the extra sweet Venus-Jupiter conjunction taking place in the sign of Cancer. But we're going to be breaking it down and giving you guys so much more about the weekly astrology, the transits involving the moon, and how to navigate this Venus-Jupiter conjunction and what's in store for all of the 12 rising signs. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell button below. You'll be alerted as to when I have new videos. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday using tarot and astrology to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and like this video, consider sharing on your socials, and definitely leave me a comment and let me know what sweet happenings are happening for you guys under this conjunction. Now, just a few heads up about the channel. We do have new levels available on my memberships. If you guys haven't already seen them, we have a new level 3 membership if you want to get your sign's daily astro horoscope. So we have a new VIP horoscope club. If you guys subscribe for level 3, you're going to have exclusive access to that where you can see it on my community tab every day. Definitely check that out. And we also have our level 4 memberships. If you guys would like to get one of your monthly readings with me during the lives, you can choose from tarot or astrology. To see more about my memberships, check out the community tab. We're always posting on there and letting you guys know what's going on. And join me this Friday if you guys would like to get a tarot reading. I'll be here at 6 o'clock p.m. Central. That's going to be 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come hang out. Fridays are always a good time, and we can read some cards for you. Now, if you guys haven't already seen, we've got new Tarotscopes on the channel. So we are now doing spreads, monthly spreads that's strictly, tarot related. Choose your own deck, choose your own adventure. You guys have given me lots of really good feedback. I'm still kind of playing with the format, so we'll see how it goes for the next couple of months, but I hope you guys enjoy more tarot predictions. And we'll get into the week. So basically, we'll be kind of covering August 10th through the 17th, 2025. I'm loving some of the transits this week. I feel like kind of feels like a warm hug that we're going to be getting from the universe. But as always, there's going to be a little sprinkle of spice in there to keep things exciting so we don't get too comfortable. We'll be diving into the rare Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. Plus, we're going to be talking about all the other dynamic transits that'll have us feeling expansive, emotional, as well as, ready to manifest some serious magic. So go ahead and grab your chart and get your cup of coffee or your tea, settle in, and we're going to see what this week has in store. Now, like I said, it's going to feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy. It's going to be a little heart-centered this week. And it's really encouraging us to dream big. And that's because Venus and Jupiter are making a conjunction in Cancer. That is the star of the show, and it's bringing lots of waves of love, abundance, and emotional connection. So it's time to really nurture relationships with this aspect, and it's also going to be about indulging a little bit more in self-care, maybe planting seeds for growth for our personal and financial lives. So everybody will benefit from this conjunction. However, in the background, we have Mercury kind of concluding his retrograde. He will be going direct in Leo. So good things. The good thing about that is that communication actually should improve. However, Mercury is going to be kind of sitting at 4 degrees for quite a number of days, and it will be making still an opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. So, expect that there can be some intense conversations this week. Maybe some major revelations that are really pushing us to kind of stand in our truths. And we will also see a last quarter moon in Taurus. This will be taking place kind of midweek. Yes, it adds some grounding vibes, but it's also urging us to really release what no longer serves us and focus on what truly matters. Now, this is kind of like that period where things are breaking down. We're going to be preparing for the next lunation, which will be one of 2 new moons in Virgo. We're also going to see Saturn forming a sextile to Uranus in Gemini this week, which is a nice fun little aspect. Keeps us maybe balancing bold new beginnings and working with new innovative ideas. So we've got quite a number of things happening. These will be the big ones that I'm going to be kind of touching on. You're going to see Mercury turning direct on August 11th. And if you have any personal planets around 2, 3, 4 degrees, 5 degrees of Leo, Sun, Moon, rising, even an angle. Mercury going direct is pretty significant. Obviously, the last few weeks, we've been really focusing on reworking self-expression, maybe matters of the heart, creativity, personal kind of pleasure projects. And with it turning direct, it's helping us now have more confidence in how we create, communicate, and also, I think, deal with like romance and relationships and anything that deals with self-expression. So those of you guys ruled by Mercury, my Geminis, my Virgo risings, my Leo risings, now you're going to be feeling more inclined to share your ideas. So it's going to be pretty beneficial for you. But like I said, remember, it's still in opposition to Pluto. So this lingering aspect is going to be bringing up deep transformative conversations. Watch for the jaw-dropping news breaks, exposés, anything revolving around, exposure, especially when it deals with power and manipulation or control, particularly connecting to finances, the markets. Also anything revolving around leadership. These are going to be some of the themes that are going to come up. And we're still working out some of the kinks because we're going to have actually a shadow for the rest of August. Mercury is still going to kind of be in shadow until it gets up to the degrees where it's moving out of next month. So I would focus on choosing authenticity over control. I think that that's been primarily the lesson. Thankfully, Mercury is still slightly making some trines to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So it can be a really inspiring energy for some people as well. That Venus-Jupiter conjunction, extra sweet. So if you have anything between 12 and 15 degrees of Cancer, Sun, Moon, rising, or personal planet, this is a rare and beautiful alignment. It's all about really amplifying, growing, expanding love, abundance, and our emotional connection. So this is a total cosmic green light for manifesting things involving family, property, real estate, healing, right? Any of these things. And what's really beautiful is when the Jupiter-Venus conjunction happens, it's going to be then coming into a trine with the North Node in Pisces. And the moon is actually going to be in Pisces as well. So kind of like from the time that we see the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, which is going to be in action about August 11th through the 14th. Then on the 16th, we're going to see Venus trine the North Node, which is also very sweet, very abundant. That's really about, flowing, kind of connections with our heart space, and also anything revolving around, desires and our soul's path, right? The North Node in Pisces is about our intuition. It can be about our dreams, visions. It's also about healing. So those of you guys who are wanting to tap into that energy, really great for manifesting, really great for paying attention to your dreams, vision boarding, anything that deals with water or, therapeutic stuff, spas, hanging out and soaking will be very beneficial. That last quarter moon is a little, it's a little wobbly, what I would say, especially when the moon comes into Taurus, because it's going to square Pluto and it's also going to make squares to Mercury. So we'll see some communication issues. But essentially, that is going to be a time where we're being asked to reflect because we're going through that breakdown period. And that's going to be about really grounding our intentions as we move to the next lunar cycle. And that's pretty much it. Saturn and Uranus sextiling each other is really supportive. So we're kind of blending the energy of discipline with innovation, really encouraging us to be a little bit more bold and dynamic and maybe learning in new ways, communicating in new ways. This can also be a big game changer for those of you guys who are writers, or if you work online, or you do any content creation, if you're a podcaster, if you're a blogger, or if you're just wanting to get more into a habit of like a walking routine, or if you're wanting to be better about your electronic use, or maybe you're just wanting to kind of get into the habit of making time for reading, especially anything that's going to be benefiting the self, so self-improvement stuff. Whether you're in the car, you're going for a walk, you're on the go, really good time to be kind of doing two things at one time. So definitely listening to anything that's about self-improvement can be very, very beneficial. And obviously, Uranus is still kind of making this light trine to Pluto, and that can be really powerful for empowerment through networking, and also wonderful aspects for wanting to learn astrology. So I would imagine with Uranus and Gemini, we're going to see a lot more like astrology apps, a lot more content creators. We're going to see a lot of people who are going to be blogging about it, talking about it. And Gemini could also be things kind of connecting to stuff that we listen to. So not just like podcasts or like YouTubers, but it could also be people who are kind of thinking about starting radio stations or like other things and means of being able to kind of get this information out there. So with that being said, let's look at the spotlight. Let's talk a little bit more about Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. Obviously, we know that Venus and Jupiter are the two benefics, and we're actually going to see mutual reception happening between Venus and the moon, and Jupiter and the moon. So that's really cool because obviously Venus is, kind of exalted in Pisces. Jupiter is actually, traditionally the ruler of Pisces. So we see some really beautiful angles with this conjunction that's going to be playing out. It's a conjunction and a trine this week. Now, if you guys are watching on the 10th, you might start to feel that energy building now, but it's going to be the strongest about the 11th of August through the 14th of the month. And we know that Venus rules things like love, beauty, pleasure, relationships, money, indulgence, self-esteem. While Jupiter rules things like growth, expansion, knowledge, wisdom, optimism, and anything revolving around abundance. So when we see these two planets come into conjunction, this means that they're actually going to be kind of kissing in the skies, making this conjunction that is infusing these two beneficial planetary energies together. Finally, we have Venus out of the square with Saturn and Neptune. We also have Jupiter out of the square with Saturn and Neptune. Venus and Mars are not squaring each other, and Mars is moving out of the opposition with Saturn. All things spell better relational kind of matters. So we really feel like, the last week or so has been a little intense. I don't know how you guys have been kind of feeling with the Mars and Libra in opposition to Saturn and Neptune. It's been a little dicey, but honestly, I've been really surprised with just how quickly we can actually kind of cut through things and make headway with the trines to Uranus in Gemini by communicating in different ways. And also that Mars trine to Pluto has been very empowering. So I was pleasantly surprised over this last week that by not falling into the opposition trap, you can really tap into the trine with the outer planet. So those are still kind of hanging around a little bit. Obviously, Venus is also the ruler and the dispositor of Mars. So even though Mars has been kind of creating some disruptions or some cutting or some severing in certain relationships, it almost seems like that's been necessary because some people are not really sure of how to show up in relationships. They're not self-aware. Maybe there's lack of accountability. Maybe there's a lack of feeling confident. But I think that now the Venus-Jupiter stuff is going to kind of soften, and now we can actually heal and recover from some of the tension that's been happening over this last week. So I guess you guys are probably wondering, well, what does Cancer rule, right? So this is the fourth sign of the zodiac ruled by the moon, which is why I really like seeing the mutual reception between the moon and Jupiter and also some of the trines. But Cancer represents roots, home, family, emotions, nurturing, intuition. It is a feminine sign, so it has a strong association with fertility, women, mothers, sisters, grandmothers, spouses. And in particular, Venus-Jupiter in Cancer is really great for sprucing up your home. And whether that's like making improvements and updating things or maybe additions, certainly Jupiter could be that. It could also be people who are coming to visit from far away or exploring, potentially moving or relocating or investing in property in other places. It can also represent that the roots are kind of going deep, that we're deeply rooted in our home or family dynamics right now, really enjoying, indulging, being comfortable, and being at home. So you're going to have to look at where Cancer is in your chart to see exactly which house this conjunction is going to be taking place in. But I will take you guys through the 12 rising signs and give you some predictions, so stay tuned for that at the end of the video. Very, very intuitive. I think that's the other thing that I really like about some of these transits. Like I've got Jupiter in Cancer natally, so I'm experiencing my Jupiter return, but I'm having it with that North Node trine, and I have just been like blown away by just the sudden surge in like intuition. It's been actually like really cool. So I don't know if you guys are feeling that. You don't have to have water placements to feel this. You might actually pick up on some of this this week in particular. So pay attention to those emotions. They might be trying to tell you something. And as for who this might be affecting the most, obviously it's happening in the sign of Cancer. So Cancer is going to get like the glow up, the spotlight, in particular anything between about 12 and 15 degrees of Cancer, sun, moon, or rising. But we're also going to see this positively impacting my Taurus and my Libra risings because you guys are actually ruled by Venus. So Venus meeting with Jupiter is actually pretty positive for you guys, as well as my Sagittarius and my Pisces risings because you are traditionally ruled by Jupiter. So even if you don't have any of these rising signs or any of these placements, everybody is going to benefit from this. 12 years ago when we had the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, it looks like it was actually in Gemini, so we didn't quite get it in Cancer. But don't worry, the universe is going to kind of double up for us. We're going to get one this week, and we're also going to get one next summer. But I don't really feel like it's as sweet as it is now. With the conjunctions between the moon and the north node, the trines to the north node, this week feels very, very, very faded when it comes to matters of the heart. Now, the core themes with this conjunction is all about being heart-centered with your abundance. And the abundance can be feeling wealthy or rich in a sense of family, home, or security. Certainly Venus in Cancer creates a more kind of cozy, nurturing vibe, and it really encourages us to connect deeply with loved ones, maybe pampering ourselves or dreaming big about what makes us feel secure or fulfilled. So it's kind of like the universe is giving us like a cosmic pie that's going to be filled with like love, creativity, and opportunity. So really the question is, are you going to take a slice of that pie? Now, the conjunction is also rare, and it's rare because Venus and Jupiter conjunct about every 13 months or so, depending on like the retrograde cycles. But it's only every 12 years that we have Jupiter in Cancer, and Jupiter is in its exaltation in this sign. So it basically means that it's particularly strong in matters of emotion, family, home, sensitivity, intuition. So we have not had this since two Jupiter cycles ago. So it should have been like 24 years ago that we last had that conjunction. So it's rare in that sense. And I also feel like it's rare because you see Jupiter, the ruler of the north node, also simultaneously in a trine, Venus simultaneously in a trine this week. And that's why I think this is going to be so darn good. Obviously, this expansive energy with Jupiter and Venus's love for connection really creates a very unusual kind of aspect. And for me, between the North Node, the Moon, Jupiter, and Venus, it's like a cosmic jackpot for manifesting. So if you're trying to manifest love, emotional security, wealth, healing, new home or family dynamics, like this is definitely the week to do that. Obviously, the conjunction feels very like nurturing. And really what it's trying to tell us is that it's actually okay this week to indulge in self-love. It's okay to spend a little bit more time in your cozy space at home. It's all about strengthening the bonds that we have with family or chosen family and creating a much more cozy sanctuary. So whether it's like a romantic date night or a financial windfall or a creative breakthrough, this week we're going to feel like the universe is saying, here, enjoy, you earned this. Now, with the moon in Pisces conjunct the North Node, that's significant because the moon is the dispositor, meaning it rules any planets that are moving through Cancer. And that is going to be amplifying on the 11th. You're actually going to see that tomorrow, that's going to be kind of the strongest as the moon is meeting with the North Node. But it's setting up pretty much all day today on August the 10th. So kind of Sunday into Monday is when you're going to see these things kind of aligning. And this is really amplifying the more spiritual and intuitive side of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. Since the moon rules Cancer, this is the dispositor. So it means that the alignment is really connecting to your emotions, Pisces, and your soul's purpose, North Node. So it's going to make it a powerful time to trust your intuition and really align with your destiny. And that's what I really love about the moon. That's what I love about Cancer fourth house placements. There is just this intuitive knowing in the gut, right? What we're meant to do. So watch for those kind of gut feelings about what direction you're supposed to be going in this week when it comes to matters of love and money. And with that moon North Node trine, it's definitely kind of saying, all right, Cancer is creating a flowing, harmonious energy to our destiny. That might involve changes or expansion or positive things kind of happening with our home or our living situation or our family. And it kind of feels with all this water that it's like a cosmic river that's kind of guiding us towards love, creativity, spiritual growth, right? North Node and Pisces. So it's really a moment to listen to your heart and lean into what feels the most aligned. Now, what do we see during a Venus-Jupiter conjunction? Overindulgence. It's definitely a theme. Overspending, overeating, having a sweet tooth that just can't be satisfied. I think with the North Node and the moon in Pisces, it's going to represent hanging around, lounging in the pool, maybe going and having a day at the spa. Maybe we are sleeping in more. Maybe we are really focusing on, making our bedrooms our sanctuary. Maybe we are becoming more spiritually kind of oriented and we're incorporating that into our home and our family routines. Great for house clearings and blessings. Also really, really great for anything connecting to religious or spiritual practices. In particular, I would say meditation or anything that can be reflection oriented. Prayers, I would definitely say like prayers get answered when you see conjunctions to Jupiter and trines to the North Node. So for some of you guys, things that you have been praying for, that you've been asking for, can manifest, but this can also be a time where we are also so incredibly appreciative and like practicing gratitude. Gratitude is going to be the attitude this week. You can be thanking the universe for things you have not even received yet, but you know that it's on the way. So watch for the overindulgence though. Watch for maybe taking an extra slice of the pie or indulging in the cookies. And definitely watch for a tendency to overspend, overeat, or even overcommit emotionally, overly extending ourselves. But for the most part, I think it's going to be kind of like this really comfortable sloth vibe, where some of us are just going to kind of say, you know what, I'm taking it a little bit easy this week, or I'm really treating myself this week and taking my time. Now, it is possible we can see some emotional overwhelm that can happen because of Cancer's sensitivity. It may bring intense feelings to the surface. So if that happens, it can be really beneficial to just meditate, sleep on it, try to pray about it, or find ways to just recognize the emotions and validate them. Journaling or talking it out can definitely help the process. Keep in mind that Mercury is still in opposition to Pluto. So, when this is setting up, Mercury is getting ready to go direct. And while this is some really, sweet energy, Mercury in opposition to Pluto is still bringing a lot of tension in friendships and collective dynamics, lots of drama over our romantic partners, our children, matters of the heart, and a lot of intensity in terms of like the polarity of these two signs, meaning in opposition. Certainly, there's been a lot of people who have been, having relational issues and breaking up. I think a lot of it's Mercury retrograde, but it could also be the Mars in opposition to Saturn and Neptune. But I look at this and I'm like, well, this is what I've said to you guys, that yes, there's going to be separations, or that there is going to be things that are being pulled apart, which we've been dealing with this whole last week. But now this is kind of where the light comes in, or the healing comes in, and we have the opportunity to have a bit of like a reprieve. So we can finally heal, we can cry it out. Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer are all houses that deal with endings in some capacity, right? Water is about kind of cleansing and flushing those emotions out. So a lot of you guys might find that you're just very exhausted, you're very tired, and you're just wanting to kind of get into your comfortable, safe space. Give yourself time to rest if you guys are kind of coming out of a period where you've had a very intense week last week, especially if you've been having to separate yourself from a person, place, or thing. I think that, to make the most of this transit, I would highly encourage you guys to just set intentions. You don't need to do anything crazy. You can work with water, so house blessings, cleansings, soaking, things like that. Sure, you can do that stuff. But just setting intentions and like feeling into what you're envisioning with the North Node and the Moon in Pisces, I think is really all you have to do. Now, you could write down your dreams in regards to love, money, or emotional security. Certainly, Cancer's energy matched with the North Node, Moon, and Pisces is really great for vision boarding. Like if you want to sit down with your family and have like a vision board day, it'd be like a good week to do it. If you are trying to find a new home, or if you're trying to find a new apartment, or maybe you're trying to find the perfect space or place, to kind of land, this is a good week to manifest that. And whether you're, drawing a picture of your perfect space, you're creating a list of it, maybe you're sitting down and creating like a collage of all of the different kind of elements that you would want in your home. That could also be something that you could do this week that would be really positive. But also like decluttering and making your space feel a little bit more, kind of appropriate as we're getting ready to go into, obviously, the fall here pretty soon. So some of you guys are going to be, we're clearing out, the kitchen, we're clearing out the garage, we're getting all the decorations out, we're preparing for this new kind of shift to a new season. So it could be that as well. Now, something else you're going to want to do is just nurture your relationships. I love the idea of planning like a cozy night in with loved ones, or, treating yourself to self-care rituals. And it could be as simple as a home-cooked meal, or, a face mask, or maybe you're just taking a little bit more time to kind of have your creature comforts. Definitely don't overlook that this week. And like I said, trust your intuition, because that Pisces Moon and the North Node connection makes this a prime time for intuitive decision-making, as well as very prominent dreams. These dreams that can be coming in can actually be messages from ancestors. And there can also be like ancestral rituals or routines that we can kind of be doing at home with our family as well. But make sure you ground your energy, because you will see that midweek when the moon goes into Taurus, we're really going to feel the Jupiter-Venus conjunction. And it's going to help us really anchor, I think, these big dreams into more practical steps. So whether you're wanting to manifest love this week, maybe you'd be considering like lighting a pink candle or meditating on self-love, or maybe writing a letter to your ideal partner, even if it's yourself, or planning a romantic evening to reconnect with, a special someone or family. I think in the money sense, creating a budget or a vision board for financial goals could be really great for some people, especially if you happen to have this conjunction taking place like in your second or in your 8th house. But visualizing, flowing like maybe, money flowing like a river, and considering, small investments in home or creative projects. I love anything bath or water related. So if you're wanting to bring in fresh flowers in vases, if you're wanting to do a soak, if you're wanting to maybe, give all your crystals a bath, or maybe you're just wanting to kind of cleanse and bless your home. All of these things are very much kind of connected to Cancer's energy. Now, in terms of the kind of global and personal predictions for this conjunction, pretty much everything is good things for the most part. I don't really see how this could go sideways, to be honest with you, although the only, I think, downside is that, Pisces does deal with kind of concluding and wrapping things up. So it can mean that some people are actually saying goodbye to places they've lived, and they're moving into bigger, better spaces. They're kind of moving on to the next chapter. So it can be emotional in that sense, but I think that I would really expect a lot of heartwarming stories of generosity and community support and breakthroughs also in, creative industries. So we might see some economic boosts in sectors like real estate, maybe food, wellness. This is definitely possible as it's all going through, some water signs. But personally, some of us might actually be receiving unexpected gifts. And this can be like deepening romantic or family bonds. And it might also feel very inspiring to start a creative project. So this is the time to really feel your way into the abundance, even if it's just something small. We're doing it in like meaningful ways. But personally, I think that it's going to light up a different part of your chart. So you're going to see which house that's in. But I would expect heightened emotions, opportunities for growth, and desire to connect deeply with matters, that matter the most to you. And this is really also about embracing vulnerability as a strength and kind of letting your heart lead the way. So when we see this conjunction come through, the degree that it's going to be happening at looks like it's going to be taking place at 14 degrees. Okay, so we'll see the conjunction that's going to be happening on August 12th. Midnight my time, I'm Central Time. So I would say, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th is when we're going to be feeling it. But it is going to be at 14 degrees and change. Now, what's cool about that is that's also a Taurus degree, which is going to be about what we grow, what we decide to give life to. Let me read you guys the Taurus degree. And it can also be about banks and banking and land and all that fun stuff. So if you guys follow degree theory, you know that 2 and 14 always deal with Taurus. Here we go. And it's going to cover topics like money, wallets, banking, banking employees, the economy, an estate, a village, farmers, to eat, dishes that we like to eat, food, kitchen, anything that's kind of like fat or greasy. Nature, meadows, parks, biology, kitchens, gardens, anything to deal with the throat or the neck, and that what we grow and what we raise, what we possess and what's mine. The color green in opera singers. Okay, so a lot of like random stuff, but these are all like Taurus things. So those of you guys who are like, oh, like we're going to go and harvest the garden, right? There could be an abundance of food coming from your garden this month. It could also mean that you're preparing to have a huge feast with family, or maybe there is going to be some trends revolving around property and real estate, or new home decors, or new colors. I could see a lot of people also being like, well, we're going to the beach this week, or we're going to my parents' house, or we're going to be visiting, our vacation home. And like, it looks like it would be wonderful. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this manifests for you guys, obviously. Let's read the Sabian symbol before we kind of wrap this up. And we're going to be reading the Sabian symbol for 15 degrees of Cancer, because we round up. And this is a group of people who have overeaten and enjoyed it. I mean, do we need to like read any more into this? That's just having a planet at that particular degree, but Jupiter is there, so I think it's going to magnify that. So the theme is satisfaction. The symbol speaks to a man's enjoyment of the fruits of his labor, while at the same time cautioning against hoarding, gluttony, and overindulgence. The image of a group of people who have overeaten and enjoyed dramatizes the fullness of a shared experience with others, but it also points to the necessity of using the discretion and the inevitable consequences of overcompensating for lack in one area by going overboard in another. The image also suggests the individual who develops an inner richness of being will never feel empty and deprived, or will try to make the present moment last forever out of fear of a barren tomorrow. At its highest, the symbol represents exceptional competence and a passion for life. For negative aspects, lack of self-control and the tendency to engage in excess. Your accent is on overindulgence. You may be inclined to overdo it or go overboard in some manner today. Your greatest advantage lies in knowing when it's time to stop, be moderate. Guard against living too fast or too hard out of fear that things are running out of time for you. Don't be greedy. Okay, so gratification, satisfaction, enjoyment, abundance, fullness, extravagance, luxury, overindulgence, gluttony, excess. Okay, so you guys get the picture. I would have told you that's what it meant anyway, but I think that we're going to see this definitely being a theme over the first couple of days of the week. So we'll see what happens. So let's go ahead and get into the weekly breakdown. We're actually going to start on August the 10th. So those of you guys who are watching, happy Sunday to my Sunday crew. I hope you guys are doing well and thriving on this Sunday morning. We wake up and the moon is already in Pisces. So if you're an early riser, you will have noticed that the moon in Pisces came into a square with Uranus and Gemini. While it's in Pisces for a couple of days, it's really feeding off of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. So you might be already kind of having your indulgent Sunday day. So let me know if that's playing out for you guys. After the square to Uranus early in the morning, it's actually going to kind of level off a little bit. We're not going to see too much going on other than the moon continuing to go through Pisces. And later in the day, particularly tonight, it's going to start coming into a conjunction. Sorry about that. It's going to start coming into a conjunction with the North Node. And it's coming into a trine with Venus and Jupiter. So I'm wondering how many of you guys are having like family parties, get-togethers, dinners, cookouts, something like that this evening. But it's actually looking really nice. So I like that. The key transit is also going to be for the day that the day starts with Mars in Libra coming into a trine with Pluto in Aquarius. And we see Venus beginning her conjunction to Jupiter. So, I mean, as of Sunday, it's already kind of coming into conjunction. It's not exact, but we're already feeling it. So the day is going to start with a spark of unpredictability. If you're an early riser, you definitely saw that kind of shock and surprise with the square to Uranus from the Pisces Moon, really urging us to embrace change. And I think by the evening, with the moon coming into a trine with Venus and Jupiter, it's got more of a warm, loving kind of energy, perfect for, cozy connections, creative inspiration, spiritual practices. I know that with Mars trine Pluto, which has kind of been in the air since yesterday on Saturday, it adds a very powerful drive to transform relationships and social dynamics. So some really nice aspects that are social, but still kind of keeping it, cool, calm, collected, and like hanging out at home. So there's a nice balance between these two energies today. I would say to navigate Sunday, just be open to surprises this morning. I also feel like this is about leaning into these heart-centered kind of activities, like journaling, maybe art, spending quality time with your friends and family, and channeling that Mars-Pluto intensity into a passion project. I think that would be like a wonderful way to kind of use that energy. All right, so this is going to take us into Monday, which will be the 11th. And when we wake up on the 11th, the moon is still in Pisces. Now it's meeting with the North Node, okay? So don't hit snooze on Monday. Some of you guys are going to be feeling like sleeping in, taking some extra time. And while the moon and the North Node are meeting, it means that we really have to listen to our intuition. There can be a sense of significant events taking place. Obviously, the moon and the North Node are feeding off of Jupiter, the ruler. It's also trining Jupiter, the ruler, and Venus is meeting. So, if there was ever a day to be like, I'm going to play hooky and not work today and go and do something or indulge or take a spa day, like it would be Monday. A lot of people are going to be feeling like they're really wanting to indulge and they're wanting to kind of rest and relax and not want to get a lot of stuff done. It's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. But Moon in Pisces conjunct North Node, trining Venus and Jupiter in Cancer. And the only off aspect we're going to see today is that the Moon in Pisces is in conjunct or quincunx the Sun in Leo. So this is still kind of bold and dramatic. I feel like it's more like whimsical and kind of about, our ability to really exercise anything connecting to like desires or anything connected to fantasy. So it's definitely like a romantic day, to be honest with you, even outside of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. Now, the key transit that you're going to see, other than that Venus is going to come into conjunction with Jupiter, which won't even happen until late at night on Monday, is also that we are going to see Mercury is now direct. So as of Monday, Mercury retrograde is over. We're still feeling the intensity of the opposition of Pluto. That has not gone away. We've been feeling that for a couple of months, which has brought a lot of intensity and pressure and some jaw-dropping news cycles, some exposés, things like that. And Mercury is also still slightly in a trine to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So there's a lot of things kind of going on Monday. Obviously, it's a magical day. Just because the Venus-Jupiter conjunction is setting up, Monday and Tuesday is extra sweet. I feel like some of you guys are going to be like feeling like it's a cosmic love letter, amplifying romance, creativity, and abundance. And the Pisces Moon conjunct the North Node adds this spiritual glow. And it's really urging us to follow our soul's path. And with Mercury going direct, now it's clearing some of the communication blocks that we've been having. However, the moon does in conjunct or quincunx the sun. So there can be a slight tension between ego and intuition on this day. So to best navigate Monday, I would say set intentions for love and abundance. Do it this day. Meditate, journal, create your vision board, speak your truth with confidence, but also listen to your intuition too, because there is a sense of Mercury still kind of waking up, and maybe we're feeling like we need to kind of focus on our visions before we're getting kind of bold and loud about what some of our plans are. So you're going to see the North Node Moon conjunction happening. That looks like that's going to happen around late morning. And then it's going to separate from that North Node. And then as we're getting into the PM hours, that's when you're going to see Venus coming into conjunction with Jupiter. And that's going to be happening literally in the middle of the night. So obviously we have people all different time zones, so it might be a little bit more action-packed during your day. But for a lot of us, the buildup is actually going to be on Monday into what's going to be Tuesday. So then on Tuesday, we wake up and the moon is in Aries. It's a very different vibe. Thank Goddess that Sunday and Monday, things are very lovey-dovey, because I don't predict a lot of lovey-doveyness, first thing in the morning on Tuesday. Even though, I guess saving grace is that Venus is still conjunct Jupiter. So for some people, they're going to go, okay, well, it was a pretty good day. Sure, but other people are going to be feeling the moon coming into Aries, which automatically is going to be a me first energy. It's going to be dynamic, bold, active, assertive. And the moon's meeting with Saturn. So that means that it is about working through some emotional blockages, and Saturn is retrograde. So we're rethinking who we are, what our identities are, what our goals are, what our boundaries are. It's also going to come into conjunction with Neptune. So that's a heavy vibe just in its own right. Now, the moon is ruled by Mars, and Mars is debilitated in its opposite sign, Libra. So if you guys remember what's happened the last couple of days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, having had Mars in opposition to Saturn and Neptune, this lunar transit is going to reactivate that. And it's going to bring up the tension between who am I, how am I dealing with my emotions, am I too blocked off, am I too detached, cold, do I not see myself? And the tension that's kind of going on with other people. So thankfully, we still have that softening, I feel like, with Jupiter and Venus conjunct, but that's going to be a little sticky. So you'll see a number of aspects. Not only will the moon conjunct Saturn and Neptune, and it'll oppose Mars, which is going to bring some relationship friction, but the way out of it is going to be, the moon sextile Pluto for empowerment, the moon sextile Uranus for communication, the moon trine Mercury for communication. Now, Mercury is also direct. So Now we've got a lot of stuff that's kind of in fire signs, obviously a lot of fire and a lot of air signs. And it's going to be a more kind of dynamic day. So Tuesday's a little dicey. I feel like with the key transits, something else that I would focus on would be the fact that Mercury is sextiling Mars, which is kind of the ruler for the day, with Moon in Aries, which is allowing us to now create and communicate more directly and be more assertive in relationships and go after what we want. And we're also going to be seeing that Mercury is still slightly in a sextile to Uranus, which keeps information communication kind of fun. Now, on this day, Saturn and Uranus are also sextiling, and you'll see this aspect several times. You're going to see that it more, I think, later in the year. I think when Saturn goes back into Pisces, it will sextile Uranus, which will go back into Taurus, which is not as external. It's not masculine. It's more feminine. So this is a really great aspect for, being able to blend the spontaneity of Uranus and Gemini, the creating change in our everyday routine and communications and what we're learning and how we're connecting with people, with a newfound sense of like commitment to the self, right? Saturn and Aries. So this Aries moon, man, it's bringing a very fiery energy, and its conjunction with Saturn and Neptune might kind of temper the enthusiasm with discipline and dreaminess. But the opposition to Mars is going to spark some tension in relationships. So try to stay diplomatic if you can on Tuesday, particularly the first half of the day. Perhaps, Mercury in Leo sextiling Mars will boost confidence and communication, while Saturn sextile Uranus is going to be inspiring kind of innovative yet practical ideas. So for Tuesday, the tip here is really to balance action with reflection and have an honest but kind conversation to resolve conflicts if possible. Maybe brainstorm creative solutions for long-term goals. That's something else that we can kind of do. But that moon is going to be really dinging everything from about 0 to, I would say, 5 degrees. So if we're looking at this first thing in the morning, the moon is going to conjunct Saturn and Neptune, sextile Uranus, sextile Pluto, oppose Mars by midday, trine Mercury by early afternoon. So once you're getting to the early afternoon, you're out of the opposition with Mars, and it's kind of now coming into the trine with Mercury. So kind of like after lunch meetings, communications, contracts, negotiations should go smoother, and we're going to have a better sense of awareness. But I have found that like when the moon's conjunct Saturn and Neptune and Aries, especially retrograde, there is a sense of feeling like we're hitting a wall. It's like, oh, I'm burning out on energy. I'm getting tired, or I don't feel enthusiastic, or I feel unsure. So maybe kind of hold off and try to have some of your meetings or commitments later in the afternoon. That moon is going to then come out of the trine with Mercury, and it's going to keep on moving by the early evening. Now this will take us into the 13th, which is going to be Wednesday. And the moon is still in Aries. Nothing's really changing in that department. But what we are going to see is this will be the day that the moon will trine the sun. So lots of fire, lots of trines, lots of action and activity. I was actually like laughing like last week. We had, I think it was last Sunday. We had like the moon, in Leo, and it was trining Saturn, and it was making aspects to a bunch of things. And I was like suddenly very active, and I was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, it's the fire trine. So you guys might kind of feel that it's the same stuff that's going on the 13th on Wednesday. The only thing that is a little sticky is that we will see that as the moon is going through Aries, which is more independent, it's about action, it's also about assertiveness and starting things, it will come into a square with Jupiter and with Venus. Big emotions, big sensitivity, where we are taking action independently when it comes to new career, home, and emotional dynamics. And there is this push with all this cardinal in the sky to just run around like lunatics and like initiate a bunch of new things. And everything's kind of getting pinged off of each other, especially on Tuesday with that lunar transit, where it's like one change impacts another change, which impacts another change. So kind of feels like a domino effect. Those of you guys who have a bunch of planets in cardinal signs or even in angular houses, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll notice that when the moon goes through those areas, it pushes you to create a change that affects everything else in your chart. So Wednesday, no major transits are happening. And obviously the sun and the moon trine means things are kind of in flow. So what we're independently wanting to do, what we want to create, and what we love. But that moon square Jupiter and Venus can be a little sensitive. And the Venus-Jupiter conjunction energy is still going to linger, both because of the square, but also, later in the week, we're going to see the moon go into Taurus. So we're still feeling that very strongly as the week continues. I feel like with that Aries moon trine the Leo sun, it's a burst of confidence and charisma. So it's great if you want to get active, you want to get creative, you want to do something fun. Perfect for sharing your personal or your professional life with people. However, the square to Venus and Jupiter will tempt you to overindulge emotionally or financially. So try to stay mindful of that. It's like a time where we can get very impulsive when it comes to home, family, property related matters. And I could see a lot of people like putting in offers for homes or suddenly deciding they're going to move, or that there could be some big emotions over what we want to be changing on our home or kind of family dynamics. I would say, tips for Wednesday is show up boldly. Just avoid overspending or overcommitting. Maybe reflect on what is really nurturing you before you make any big decisions on Wednesday. So we're going to see the moon continue to go through there. It's going to pick up a trine to the sun right around dinner time in the PM hours. And that's pretty much it. So it's going to keep going through Aries into the evening. Overnight, the moon will conjunct Chiron. So it's bringing up themes of personal healing and wounding. And then when we wake up first thing in the morning on Thursday, the moon is still in Aries, but it's going to be there very briefly. By the time most of you guys are awake, it's going to be in Taurus. So that is going to be the final wrap up of that. And obviously the entire time that the moon's been in Aries, we have seen aspects to Mars. Whether it was the moon opposing Mars, whether it was Mars making an opposition still to Saturn and Neptune. And obviously, Mars is ruled by Venus, where Jupiter and Venus are. And it's interesting. I felt like so much of the tension that's kind of come up the last week, and I kind of called it before the conjunction happened. In my last week's video, I was like, there's going to be some separations, there's going to be some changes, there's going to be some things that end or some distance that's actually going to be really good. And some of us are going to be very emotional about what's ending or what's concluding, but we're also going to know that it's for the best. That growth can be good, and sometimes it does bring up a little bit of friction, but some of the friction that's been happening in relationships has actually been to, I think, push us to feel more emotionally satisfied. That's kind of like the interpretation that I have, and what I've seen in my clients' lives and also in my own life as well. All right, so we're gonna now move into the 14th. So early morning, we wake up, moon's conjunct Chiron. So, some of us might not be feeling so hot first thing in the morning on Thursday, particularly like migraines, headaches, sinus issues, fevers, cuts, burns, bruises, frustration and emotions that can actually make us feel like we're bubbling over. But by the same token, this is ruled by Mars, right? So it can mean that, sure, we're getting frustrated with partnerships or relationships, maybe, but it could also mean that if we are going through a period where we're feeling wounded or we need help, relationships are there to help us, right? They're there to kind of like help pick up the pieces. So by the time most of you guys are actually awake, the moon will then shift. It will come into Taurus, and that's going to be around 9 a.m. Central Time. And now we're not focusing so much on Mars. Now we're focusing on Venus, and Venus is still within that 2-degree Jupiter, Cancer conjunction. So now it's going to bring up the Venus-Jupiter conjunction again. So this is like Thursday. So it's like, all week, you guys are gonna have to report back to me, like what happened? Is there a lot of emotions? Is there big changes of the family? Are you updating your home? Are you just like ugly crying in your Snuggie and eating your snacks in bed? So some people, when we have some of these water conjunctions, definitely, especially air and fire signs, are kind of like, what is going on? I'm drowning. Well, the rest of us are like, welcome to our life. All right, moon's in Taurus. So we're feeling the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. It might feel a little sweeter now. That's the feeling I get. We will catch a moon square Pluto. That's going to be kind of midday on Thursday, so be mindful of that. At a 2, it's definitely about financial pressure, especially in regards to the markets. I, for one, will be with moon square Pluto. It's going to be about changes and kind of breakdown that's changing financially, that's bringing some shock and surprise. And the moon square Mercury is also saying that it's pressing for some big news in regards to the markets. Still ruled by Venus, and Venus is conjunct Jupiter. So I think it's going to be like a lot about property and real estate markets and values, or people being more enthusiastic about what can be happening. But that T-square between Pluto and Mercury is not fun. So there's that. So no major transits on Thursday, but the Venus-Jupiter energy remains strong. Very early morning, the conjunction with Chiron and the moon can bring up some old wounds. So lean into self-healing, compassion. When it moves into Taurus, it's going to be more about grounding the energy out. So it makes it a good day for taking practical steps towards abundance. However, the square to Pluto and also Mercury stirs power struggles and communication challenges. So stay calm and stay centered. That happens about midday. So communications about money, making financial trades, making changes when it comes to investments, like budgeting. There's like a little bit of like some challenges there. Maybe we're optimistic and enthusiastic about the changes, and maybe it's like actually pushing us to see, oh, Mercury's retrograde, it's over. Now maybe we're going to see some kind of change in direction with the stock market, especially in the sign Leo. I think that's very possible. On Thursday, I would say, if you're up very early in the morning, try to spend a little bit of time, maybe taking a hot shower, sitting in a sauna, doing some red light therapy, something like that, doing some journaling, something that's going to be about self-healing. And then later in the day, when the moon's in Taurus, focus on activities like cooking, gardening, budgeting. Budgeting is going to be a little tricky with the square to Mercury and Pluto, but maybe that comes up. And also avoiding arguments by choosing your words wisely, because there could be some conflict over finances. So it looks like that T-square is pretty strong about midday until the evening. And then once dinner time rolls around, we're coming out of that square. And the moon's going to keep going through Taurus overnight, which is going to take us into the 15th, which will be Friday. Nice aspects for the most part. Moon in Taurus will sextile Jupiter and Venus. Nice. We are also going to see a trine to the South Node in Virgo and a sextile to the North Node in Pisces. And we are also going to see the moon come into a square with the sun, but that won't be until later in the day. So this is the last quarter moon. So if you guys think about what has been happening since the full moon that we had in Aquarius on Saturday, and I'm filming this before the full moon in Aquarius. I don't know what's going to happen, but that's definitely a pretty significant full moon. Now this is that breakdown period where we're being asked to prepare for the next incoming lunation, which will be the first of two new moons in Virgo. It'll be 0 degrees of Virgo next. So I think with like the moon and the sun square, it does bring up a feeling of things are kind of disjointed. So it looks like that's going to be happening later in the day. So you'll see a sextile and a trine to the nodes around dinner time. And then later in the evening, much later in the evening, the moon will square the sun. So maybe it's not going to be as kind of like challenging as it would be as if it was midday, where we feel like plans are kind of going awry. But I think that the Taurus moon really amplifies the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. And obviously that's going to bring up more of those cozy, abundant kind of vibes, great for self-care, romance, or financial planning. And that last quarter moon is asking us to release what no longer serves us, connecting obviously with the nodes. So it's still about trusting your intuition. That comes up very strongly all week long. And it's not even just so much your intuition, like, oh, I have a gut feeling, but it's like what your emotions are telling you. Like I have noticed that this has been a transit that's like, your emotions are saying this. Okay, you're frustrated. So if this is coming up, it needs to be addressed. It must mean something. Or if you're getting really excited, or if you're just having like this feeling like, oh, something is coming. All of these things seem to be checking out for a lot of people. So I don't know. You guys let me know if that's happening for you. I would say with those, nodal aspects, there's definitely a lot of destiny-driven choices. And this is going to be a good day for treating yourself to something nurturing, okay? A healthy meal, a spa day, a massage, picking yourself up a sweet treat, whatever. And reflecting on also what you need to let go of in order to move towards your goals and trusting your intuition. So it's interesting that some of us might be making intuitive money moves. We might be making intuitive real estate moves. We might be making intuitive changes about our job. We could be making intuitive changes about what we're eating, what we're consuming, what we're willing to invest in, right? And we're really wanting to invest in things that are going to bring us some kind of significant value. And then this is going to take us into what will be Saturday, the 16th. And on Saturday, we wake up early in the morning if you're an early riser, and the moon is still in Taurus. So it's the last kind of sweet moments of that Venus-Jupiter conjunction. Now it's actually starting to separate. But we have seen actually Friday, and I meant to say this, Friday, Venus is trining the North Node. So that's that kind of destiny and alignment with relationships, home and family. And now we have got the moon that's going to shift signs. It's going to go out of Taurus and it's going to move into Gemini. And that will be happening middle of the day on Saturday. Look, Saturday's fun, okay? Saturday and Sunday are actually pretty fun. Immediately midday on Saturday, when the moon comes into Gemini, it is going to come into conjunction with Uranus and Gemini. So shocking, surprising, exciting things. Obviously, we're looking at Mercury, which is now direct in Leo. So we can have fun, we can create, we can play. And the moon is in a trine with Mars in Libra, which is taking relationship action. And it's in a trine with Pluto in Aquarius, which is definitely going to be about socializing and transformation in regards to social groups. Lots of lunar aspects. Grand air trine is what we would call this. Now, we will also see that moon, like I said, sextile Mercury. And it's also going to be sextiling Saturn and Neptune. How are you guys feeling? Have you noticed this when the moon goes through the, particularly Sagittarius, Aquarius, Gemini, Leo, just how much more dynamic things feel? I actually feel like things are much lighter. Things feel so much lighter than we had Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. They feel so much lighter than we had Uranus and Taurus or Pluto and Capricorn. I don't have a lot of air and fire in my chart, but I really like these aspects because I feel like suddenly it's things can move forward much more quickly. I think the daily vibe here and what's important is that we have been in Venus trine the North Node, which is really kind of Friday into Saturday. And also that Taurus moon is helping keep us grounded. And then as we get into what's going to be, the Gemini moon, we have the air trine. It's perfect for socializing. If you need to travel, if you need to brainstorm, Venus trine the North Node is deepening the emotional and spiritual connection. And guess what we have now on Saturday? Saturn is now at 0 degrees of Aries. So it is at that 0 degree cardinal point to the world axis point, which is signaling bold new beginnings. Now, if you guys remember over the spring, Mercury went retrograde there, Venus went retrograde there. Then we had, Saturn enter into Aries and then Neptune. So when Saturn or any planet really sits at the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, big things happen. We see big events taking place. So it'll be there actually for a couple of days. So watch that. I think on Saturday, I would be embracing spontaneity. I think that's the name of the game with the moon, Uranus, and Gemini. So maybe say yes to a last minute plan or, an overnight trip or maybe a creative idea. Definitely get out there and connect with others through meaningful conversations and maybe reflect on new beginnings that you really want to pursue. So that moon will continue to move through Gemini, conjuncting Uranus midday, trining Pluto midday, and then come the evening, trining Mars. I love Saturday for a fun date night. I think it would be actually a really great time to do that. And going and doing something local in your environment or going to a part of town you don't usually frequent would be really fun. Just getting out and meeting people. And then on Sunday, the 17th, we wake up and that moon is still in Gemini. Not going to see too much that's going to be happening. There will be the moon coming into a square with the North and South Node, which makes Sunday kind of a fateful day, a decision-making day. How we communicate, how we connect, what we're learning, what we're writing, what we have to say. And the moon will later in the day make a sextile to the sun in Leo. So it keeps the energy light and playful and expressive with the sun in Leo, and it's great still for socializing and creative projects. Maybe the square to the North and the South Node from the moon to the nodes is going to bring a moment of tension, and it's really asking you to really communicate, think your way into, and express how you're moving away from past habits and you're moving into future goals. And it's really urging you to choose alignment. So the tip that I would have for Sunday would be have fun. Still, get out there, have a good time, maybe flirt a little bit. Be mindful of what you say, but still be confident with your ideas. And also reflect on what's holding you back. If you feel like there's a conversation you have to have, there's something you need to say, there's a letter you need to send, there's something that you need to say to someone, that's going to come up in the evening. So right around dinner time, the moon will square the North and the South Node. Well, the North Node's ruled by Jupiter, which is still conjunct Venus. The moon's ruled by Mercury, which is now direct. And Mercury is kind of actually squaring Mars for several days. It's kind of like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where now we have figured out, how to express ourselves. And now we can tell people what we want in relationships. And maybe there is less drama and there's been some friction, but that friction has actually been good because it's helped us kind of clear the air a little bit. So, just focus on taking small step forwards on Sunday. That is going to be about bringing about change. And a lot of this is emotional change, learning how to communicate and kind of talk about our feelings a little bit better. All right, so with that being said, that was the week, but I want to show you guys in particular the Venus-Jupiter conjunction and what that's going to be bringing for a lot of you guys. So let's take a look at this from the perspective of the whole rising signs. And as a reminder, guys, I'm a Western astrologer. That's the kind of astrology that I like to practice. I'm not a Vedic astrologer, so this is tropical. We're going to be looking at Venus coming into conjunction with Jupiter. So I'm going to talk to you about where this is happening, like what houses these two planets are actually connected to, give you some themes to watch for with the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, as well as some predictions. I would say if you're a whole sign user, listen to your rising sign, and the house that Jupiter and Venus are in is where you're going to see that connection. If you're a Placidus user like me, you need to look for about 14 degrees of Cancer. Figure out which house that's in. You may have to listen to a different rising sign. And definitely consider listening to your sun and your moon sign. In particular, I feel like the moon signs are really going to resonate for a lot of people. So you guys will have to let me know. But so much lunar energy that I feel like the moon signs are actually going to really correlate. Okay, so we're going to start first with Aries and Aries rising. So for you guys, you're seeing the Venus-Jupiter conjunction happening in your fourth house. And I guess I should say as like a reminder also, Taurus, Cancer, Libra, Sag, and Pisces, all of you guys are going to be feeling this the most. And any placements about 13 to 15 degrees of Cancer. Keep in mind also that the conjunction is seeding something. So it's going to be seeding something that maybe is starting now. Okay, so for some of you guys, you're going to look at this and you're going to go, well, something didn't happen that day. No, but it's seeding something that can very well happen or kind of grow or materialize over like the next year. And even next year, you're going to get another conjunction. Right. Aries and Aries rising. So the Venus-Jupiter conjunction is taking place obviously in your fourth house. What is the fourth house? Home, family, roots, emotional foundation, property, real estate, that kind of stuff. Could be sisters, could be wives, could be mothers. It could be anything kind of connected to your family. And Venus rules your second house, which is about finances and self-worth. It's also tied to your seventh house, which is about partnerships and relationships. So Jupiter, on the other hand, is pretty strongly tied to your ninth house, which is going to be about expansion, belief, and travel, as well as your 12th house, which is about spirituality and the subconscious. So you have to take a lot of other houses into consideration when you look at the conjunction. And essentially the themes here for you is going to be about nurturing your home base. It's also going to be about deepening family ties and connecting to your inner emotional security. So for Aries risings, I'm predicting that this conjunction in your fourth house feels like a cosmic home renovation. You might redecorate, you might move, you might host a family gathering. It can also be a time where financial support for home projects could flow in, possibly through a partner because Venus rules your seventh. Jupiter's influence brings optimism and expansion, and there could be new traditions or a sense of home that aligns with your soul. And it can also mean there's emotional breakthroughs that's happening with family, especially if you're leaning more into vulnerability. So I recommend for Aries risings this week, create a cozy kind of home sanctuary space. Light some candles, rearrange your space, maybe cook a home family recipe, journal about what home means to you, and maybe have a heart-to-heart with loved ones to strengthen those bonds. Good luck, Aries. All right, Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? Venus is meeting with Jupiter in the third house, okay? Your Venus, obviously the third house, Cancer, is directly connected to communication, learning, community, even siblings. Vehicles can be here, gadgets can be here as well. So with Venus, it rules you, your first house, and your identity, but it's also connecting to your third house, which is very much associated with work, health, and daily routines. While Jupiter rules joint finances and anything revolving around transformation, as well as your personal goals and your community or networking. So in the third house specifically, the themes here are really going to be about heartfelt communication, maybe expanding your local network. Maybe there's going to be more creative expression opportunities, websites, blogging, anything connecting to media. Maybe you're looking to find a new car. Maybe you're planning a trip or you're going somewhere with a sibling or a relative. Maybe it means that, you're wanting to pick up a gadget or something that can improve your health. Especially a lot of Taurus risings might go, well, I want to get an Apple Watch or something so I can track what I'm, eating, or like tracking my steps. Others are going to feel like they want gadgets and other things that's going to help them be more productive. Anyway, so the themes here is about having heart-to-heart conversations. That conjunction makes your words also very magnetic, and your ideas are going to be very abundant. So writing, speaking, sharing something deeply that personally resonates with others, I think is a good idea. Watch for like a neighbor or a sibling that could unexpectedly bring you some kind of support or a sweet treat. And there could be financial or creative opportunities that come through community connection because Jupiter rules your 11th. So it's a really great time for short trips and learning something new that nurtures your soul. Share your thoughts through writing, podcasting, or write a letter to someone. And maybe take a local adventure, enroll in a class that inspires you, or connect with community where you feel the most supported. All right, we've got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's up, Gemini? You're going to experience the Venus-Jupiter conjunction taking place in Cancer in your natal second house, which obviously is a great place to have this conjunction, Gemini, as it deals with finances, your self-worth, and your material possessions. Now, Venus, on the other hand, is strongly tied to your 5th house, which can be about creativity, romance, and fun, as well as your 12th house, which is about your spirituality and anything connected to your subconscious or things that are behind the scenes, things that you're manifesting, especially. This can be a really strong manifestational kind of transit. Now, Jupiter rules your relationships, right? Partnerships, clients, spouses, and the 10th house rules your career and your public life. So when we tie all the themes together in your second house, it's about boosting your self-worth, attracting abundance, and also valuing your talent. So I predict for my Geminis and Gemini risings that this conjunction is going to feel like a cosmic paycheck, okay? Maybe you're making an investment in something that pays off over the next year. Maybe there is some lump sum that shows up suddenly. Maybe people are more generous with you. Maybe your partner comes into some money. Maybe you have a really, well-to-do client. It can also mean that you get a gift or you get a raise or a creative project pays off because Venus rules your 5th. And Jupiter's expansive energy could bring opportunities to invest into your home or your career because it rules your 10th. So your self-worth gets a glow up. This is helping you really recognize your own personal value. I would just say be cautious with overspending or overindulging in what you eat. You're going to have a bit of a sweet tooth this week. And I would say as a tip, create a budget or a vision board when it comes to your financial goals. Definitely affirm your self-worth, and you have to focus on positive self-talk and treat yourself to something small that feels luxurious, like maybe a new cozy blanket or maybe a specialty food, or maybe you're feeling like you want to reward yourself because of how well things are going at work. Good luck, Gemini. All right, we got Cancer and Cancer rising. This is your Venus-Jupiter conjunction taking place in your sign, or if you're a Cancer rising, your 1st house. Especially if you have anything, I would say, 12, 13, 14, 15 degrees of Cancer. I mean, within about 5 degrees, you're really going to feel this conjunction. And it's so beautiful because obviously the 1st house deals with your self-identity and also your personal expression. So Venus going through your sign is making you more charming, making you more attractive, making you more diplomatic. And Venus rules your 4th house of home and family, and it's also connected to your 11th house of friends and community. Now, Jupiter obviously traditionally rules your 6th house, which is about your health and habits. And it's also tied to your 9th house, which is going to be about traveling, expansion, and your beliefs. So putting it all together with the conjunction in your 1st house, it's going to represent really, I think, in a lot of ways, radiating joy, radiating health, radiating warmth, anything connecting to embracing self-love, stepping into your power, feeling maybe a little wanderlust, indulging in travel, indulging in health or wellness routines can also be another theme. And in your 1st house, you're like the cosmic star, basically, of the entire week. So you might get a lot of compliments. You might get a lot of attention. You'll find that your charm and your emotional depth is what's really drawing people in. And I would say expect the compliments and the opportunities, to kind of come your way, because this transit will boost your confidence and it's going to really enhance your authentic self. So opportunities that are tied to like home or family or friends can come up, and it can help expand your world. So it could be like a new project or even like a social connection, and a personal glow up is likely. So picking up something nice, a little stylish perhaps, can be really beneficial. But also those of you guys who have been, waiting to bring in better health, better resources, more travel, this will pop up for you guys as well. And I think to make the most of this transit, maybe update your style to reflect something that's a little bit more Cancerian. So, cozy yet chic. Things that are going to be creams and silvers and kind of like baby blues and stuff that's like reflective. Pearls, white opals, these kinds of things can be really beneficial to wear this week. And set intentions around personal growth and connecting with people who want to celebrate and kind of share your light. All right, we got Leo and Leo rising. You guys are going to experience the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in the 12th house in the sign of Cancer. Obviously, the 12th house is about spirituality, your subconscious, closure, healing, foreign lands, okay, behind the scenes stuff. And Venus is tied to your 3rd house of communication, siblings, and learning, and your 10th house of career and your public life. And then you have got Jupiter, which is the ruler of your 8th house, which is about joint resources and transformation and intimacy, as well as your 5th house of children and anything kind of connecting to romance, creativity, or having fun. So truth be told, in the 12th house for my Leo risings, unless you're like, I'm traveling to a foreign land, I'm going to be at a retreat, I'm going to a meditation retreat, this is going to be a little bit more subtle. You might notice that you're drawn to going to a spa. Actually going to a spa during this week, getting a massage, soaking, I highly recommend that. I also highly recommend creating a calm Zen den in your bedroom. So maybe some running water noises, maybe you're going to put some more luxurious or new luxurious kind of bedding down, maybe you're going to adjust and make some changes to the lighting. Something is going on there that's going to create a little bit more of like an intimate, like romantic space. Romantic movie night and dinner at home, right? That kind of stuff can be great. And I think that really what this is bringing up for you is inner healing. It's also about spiritual growth and intuitive abundance. So that 12th house transit is a deep spiritual experience. So meditating this week, being alone in nature, soaking in water, maybe it's going to be about going to church or having some kind of prayer or ritual routine can be really positive. And dreams, meditation, or quiet moments are likely going to reveal some very profound insights about your love or your money. And there could be a creative breakthrough or romantic breakthrough that feels faded and possibly tied to like a past life connection. And financial support can come through unexpected channels because of Jupiter's tie to your 8th house. So definitely rest and recharge. Ask the universe for support, but it's going to be something that you're going to feel more kind of supported, I think, emotionally and spiritually. It may not be so literal for all of you guys, okay? Definitely journal your dreams. I would say meditate with some rose quartz and trust your intuition because it's very loud this week, and create space for solitude so you can process emotions. Good luck. Virgo and Virgo rising, you guys are going to do the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer in your natal 11th house. So this is the house of parties, communities, connection, friendships, goals, and also, your goals and your aspirations in life, what you're hoping to kind of achieve. So Venus rules your 2nd house, which is about finances and self-worth, money. And it also is tied to your natal 9th house, which is going to be about expansion and your beliefs. And Jupiter rules the 4th house, which is connecting to home and family, and the 7th house of relationships and partnerships. So the theme is going to be about expanding your network. It's going to be about aligning with like-minded souls, manifesting your dreams, and also I feel like some big opportunities that can come through networking and connecting with other people, things that can help you make money. So your social circle is like buzzing with this conjunction, and there could be new friendships. There could also be group projects that bring joy or opportunity. There could be a financial boost that comes through community, effort, or partnership. And your dreams for the future feel more obtainable this week, especially if they involve home or personal growth. And you might find that a wish comes through. Family dinners, family get-togethers, going to friends' houses for barbecues and gatherings. There being kind of good news that's coming from friends. You'll hear friends are like, oh, we're having a kid, we're buying a house, we're getting married, or there is some kind of group celebration. And if you happen to be a single Virgo rising, I would say you want to go out and be where the people are, because this can really, I think, open the door, make it possible for you to have a friend set you up with someone, or maybe you meet someone unexpectedly. It can be good for bringing in clients and stuff as well. And I would say just connect with a group or friends that make you feel aligned with your passion, and share your goals with trusted allies, and host a cozy gathering maybe with some of like your closest friends, right? Lots of indulging, lots of good food, friends, wine, with that connection in your 11th house. All right, we got Libra and Libra rising. What's up, Libra? Your chart ruler, Venus, is coming into conjunction with Jupiter in your natal 10th house. All right, Libra. So this is obviously 10 signs away from you, so it does deal with some kind of personal karma. The 10th house is your reputation, your career, your public life. And obviously you're Venus, so it deals with you out in the world, your identity. And Venus is also tied to your 8th house, which is kind of connected to shared resources and transformation. While Jupiter rules the 3rd house of communication and learning, as well as the 6th house of work and health. So Libra, the themes that are going to be coming up for you are going to be about career growth. It's also about public recognition, maybe nurturing your career path in some way, making some really big announcements revolving around your career. And I predict that with this conjunction in your 10th house, it's putting a spotlight on you, Libra. So a promotion, a creative project, a public win is really going to boost your reputation. You're going to get a lot of recognition for something you're doing. You're going to get a lot of feedback. I think financial opportunities that are tied to shared resources, because Venus rules your 8th, can come up, or communication projects are very likely. So if you're writing, if you're teaching, if you have some kind of media or online presence, and nurturing leadership style really attracts support from higher ups or from clients. So this is a time to dream very big when it comes to your career. A lot of you guys are going to find that this is a huge turning point for your professional life that's really going to be playing out all year long. I recommend pitching a bold idea, or maybe showcasing your work. Maybe network with mentors or like colleagues, and infuse your personal projects with creativity and a little bit of heart, because making it more relatable, making it more personal, making it more heartfelt is definitely going to put you on the map, and it's going to bring in some things for you, especially that's going to help build your career, because it's at a 14. Good luck, Libra. Scorpio risings. You guys are going to be experiencing Venus conjunct Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. Scorpio, you are the one sign that is going to make a grand water trine. So if you have anything, I would say 13, 14, 15 degrees of Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising, you will get the trine. And that's because it's also making aspects to the North Node in Pisces. So this week might feel extra dreamy for my Scorpio and Scorpio risings. Now, the conjunction's happening in your natal 9th house. So this is about expansion. It's about beliefs, travel, higher learning, things like getting into college, planning trips, meeting significant mentors or teachers. And Venus is the ruler of your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and spouses. It's also connecting to your 12th house of spirituality and the subconscious. While Jupiter rules the 2nd house of money and finances, as well as self-worth, and the 5th house, which deals with creativity and romance. So putting all those things together with the Venus-Jupiter connection in your 9th means that you're broadening your horizons. It's also about spiritual exploration, romantic adventures, planning luxury trips, investing more in your future, and also remaining optimistic and open-minded in regards to what home and family means for you. Now, I do think that this week you're going to see with that conjunction, it's going to spark a thirst for growth. And so whether you're saying, okay, I want to take a trip, or I'm going to do a certification, or I want to go back to school, or maybe there's just the spiritual practice that feels more fulfilling. There could be also a really prominent like mentor, teacher, therapist, somebody that can come in that you feel very drawn to, that can teach you something. And romantic or creative opportunities are very likely, and that'll arise through traveling or learning. Now, it is possible that you can get financial support for these pursuits because Jupiter rules your 2nd, and partnerships could inspire you to dream big and really share your journey with other people. For Scorpio risings, I would say planning a trip or signing up for a workshop is actually a really good move right now. Even if you're not traveling this week, certainly if you are, you'll enjoy it. But if you're not traveling this week, this could be something that you're planning at some point later this year. And I also feel like I would be trying to sign up for maybe a workshop, or if you're interested in getting involved in teaching or education or publishing, maybe share your beliefs with a partner or a friend and stay open to new perspectives that are going to be nurturing your soul. Good luck, Scorpio. I hope you enjoy that. All right, Sag and Sag rising. Well, Saggies, Venus, Jupiter conjunction in Cancer in your 8th house is going to have you in all the feels. The 8th house is an interesting place to have this conjunction, obviously, and Jupiter is your chart ruler. So the 8th house is really all about shared resources. It's going to be things like taxes, inheritance, money borrowed, money owed. But it's also about intimacy. It's about vulnerability. It's about transformation and like learning to kind of be open to change and transformation when it comes to, joint partnerships, when it comes to therapy and psychological matters, when it comes to big changes in your home. And even though this isn't a sign that inconjuncts or quincunxes you and like the change may come out of the blue and it can kind of hit you like a wave of emotions, it's actually really good for you. So if we kind of break it down, obviously Venus has a strong connection and association with your 6th house, which is things like work, health, pets, daily routines, as well as your 11th house of goals. And then Jupiter rules you, the 1st house, as well as your 4th house of home and family. So when we put it together, that means that with Venus conjunct Jupiter in your 8th, there's going to be deep transformations taking place this week. You're going to be in your emotions pretty significantly, I predict. There can be opportunities for financial partnerships, emotional intimacy, breakthroughs when it comes to borrowing and lending, especially when it comes to home and property matters, big changes in regards to family money or investments or joint resources. Now, I predict for you guys with Venus conjunct Jupiter in your 8th house, it's going to bring a very profound shift. And I think it's a financial breakthrough, but this breakthrough could be something like an investment or a loan or shared resources, and you could feel very abundant because of that conjunction. But it's also about feeling emotionally very close to others and like a deepening of intimate relationships and a feeling of receiving some kind of emotional security. So your personal growth and your home life will benefit from this transformative energy. And I would say trust your instincts. A good thing to do now is to review joint finances with a partner, have vulnerable heart-to-heart conversations, maybe meditate on what transformation means to you. Certainly, if you're feeling like, you need to be doing a detox or a cleanse, that can be coming up because of Venus's connection to your 6th. But some of you guys are seeking to invest more money into your work, your health, your habits, your daily routines, or anything connecting to like healing arts or therapy that can be coming up as well. And like there can be a lot of breakthroughs in those departments if that's something that you're participating in. Good luck, Sag. I hope this is a beautiful one for you guys. All right, we've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are going to be experiencing the Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer in your opposite sign in the natal 7th house. Beautiful transit. Love to see both of these planets in your 7th house, especially with Jupiter's exaltation. And obviously the 7th house is relational. So whether it is partnerships, relationships, one-on-one connections, therapists, astrologers, clients, right? Especially if you have like a business or if you sell, goods or services, there could be an abundance of connecting with people here. Now, Venus is directly tied to your 10th house of career and your professional reputation and, connections. It's also connected to your 5th house, which is going to deal with creativity, fun, and romance. So when we put it all together, we're also mixing in Jupiter, and Jupiter deals with your 3rd house of communication and learning and the 12th house of the subconscious. So I know it's a lot, but basically what you need to know is Jupiter is expanding your 7th house of relationships. So it's making it more possible for you to connect with others and deepening bonds, as well as maybe attracting, supportive partners, bringing in more clients, opportunities for creative collaboration, opportunities to travel with partners, and also really good communication in a professional sense. And I think getting a little bit more recognition for what you have to say. So the conjunction here is like a cosmic love fest, right? I always jokingly refer to Jupiter in the 7th house, that transit is like a man buffet. And I think that for a lot of you guys, it's not just relationships that you have with one-on-one romantic partners. It could also mean family because it's in the sign of Cancer. in particular, like females. So it could be, aunts, sisters, cousins, and the relationship that you have with them and the communication with them can become a little bit more prominent. They can actually be supportive of you now, so they can pop in. But maybe a new romantic relationship can start up as a result of this conjunction, or a business partnership, or maybe a deepening commitment to an existing relationship. So creative projects with partners feel expansive and playful, and also your public life might really benefit from some kind of a collaboration you do with another person. Expect meaningful conversations that align with your spiritual growth because Jupiter rules your 12th. I highly recommend planning a romantic date or a teaming up on a creative project. And I would just communicate openly with partners. Now is a really great time to do that, and trust the connections that if they're feeling nurturing, then this is where you're supposed to be. Good luck, Capricorn. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Aquarius, you're going to be feeling the Venus-Jupiter conjunction moving through your natal 6th house. Obviously in a sign that inconjuncts or quincunxes is you, so you may not see some of these blessings that are coming your way, but they will be here shortly. The 6th house deals with work, so it's like your coworkers, your pets, your office space, your daily routine, where you work out, even your healthcare team is all your 6th house. So with Jupiter going through there, it is strongly tied to your 2nd house of personal investments, values, and money. It's also connecting to Sagittarius, which is about your goals and your allies and your networks. And Venus is there as well, and that's tied to home, family, and property, as well as your beliefs or anything kind of connecting to, expansion or travel, even the higher mind. So when we put these two planets in conjunction in your 6th house, the Venus-Jupiter conjunction will bring, I think, abundance when it comes to your daily routines. There could be a job, a new job, a promotion, or a new health change that can feel very rewarding. And financial gains can come from work with community efforts. It's also possible that your home life inspires cozy, kind of productive vibes, and there could be small changes that yield big results. Some of you guys might be traveling for work. Others might find that you're traveling because you're looking to go and connect with like a specialist or like a medical practitioner that's going to help you heal something. Others might be traveling with pets, or they might be traveling for pets to like adopt pets or pick pets up. And I think that things are going to be a lot smoother in the health and the workspace. A lot of you guys might actually see an improvement with your relationships with people you work with, or maybe you're moving to a bigger office or a newer space. Others are going to find that they're really enjoying some kind of new health or fitness routine. And if you're building an office space at home, good. It looks like it's going to be a really good move for you. So this week, I would say start a wellness routine and organize your workspace, collaborate with colleagues for success, and create like a cozy work from home corner. Like if you can do that, I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing and you're going to be able to get a lot of stuff done. Good luck. And we've got Pisces and Pisces risings who will be experiencing the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Cancer in your natal 5th house. Obviously, this is really prominent for my Pisces risings because Jupiter is your traditional ruler. Also, this conjunction, and really Venus throughout the week, is trining the North Node in your sign. So I think you guys are really feeling this one. Now, for Pisces, it's happening in the 5th house. And if there's one thing I know, like especially those of you guys who have, Venus or Jupiter conjunct in your natal chart, that in itself is like really rare and unusual, and it's considered to be like very beneficial. But if you have it in the 5th house, oh my goodness, that is a beautiful conjunction. This is all about creativity. It's all about romance and self-expression. Obviously, Venus is tied to your 3rd house of how you communicate as well as learning. And it's also tied to the 8th house of joint resources and transformation, while Jupiter rules you. And it's also strongly tied to Sagittarius, which is your career. So as Venus and Jupiter meet in your 5th house, right, this is going to be huge. It's about romantic sparks, creative breakthroughs, joyful self-expression, falling in love, having fun. And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of Pisces and Pisces risings are going to get pregnant because Jupiter rules the 1st house, because the moon is meeting with the North Node and it's trining. So you guys are going to find something that you're going to nurture and kind of grow or create. Could be a relationship, could be a business. But a lot of you guys who are trying to get pregnant, this is the transit to be trying. all week long. And sometimes it can be conversations in relationships that kind of lead to that. Sometimes it can be a shift in a relationship dynamic that makes you realize you want that. For some of you guys, it could be a surprise. And certainly next month's eclipse on your ascendant, it could be that you're finding out next month that you're pregnant. Don't believe me? Go and ask all of the Libras who I told last month we're going to be getting pregnant, and now they are. So huge baby boom with Jupiter and Cancer across the board. But in particular, I'm looking at you guys. I'm like, what is it that you guys are growing and nurturing? So the conjunction is pure magic. It's romantic. It's creative. You're going to find something you're going to fall in love with and something that's going to light up your world. And it's bringing you a lot of confidence, especially when it comes to your public presence. And it's really about shining and attracting attention and opportunities. Financial or emotional support comes through a partnership because Venus rules your 8th, and kids or playful moments will bring some kind of joy. My recommendation is dive into a creative hobby. So, dancing, painting, writing, photography, anything that is about home crafting or anything that involves playing or even with children. And I would say flirt, plan a fun date. There could be a really great romantic opportunity here. Share your talents obviously with the world and get some recognition for what you enjoy doing. And I think a lot of you guys are going to find that you're very talented when it comes to writing, when it comes to media. And that can be a way that you can have a breakthrough, and it can also kind of help improve some of the financial situations right now. So I hope that's helpful for you, Pisces. Particularly, I would say the Jupiter and Venus ruled signs. I'm really curious. Definitely give me some feedback. I'd love to hear how this manifests for you guys. And I know we live in a world where we want instant gratification, and some of us might get it, but some of us might go, now is the time. My emotions are telling me I must do this. And then we're going to see how it plays out over the next year while Jupiter is obviously in conjunction to this degree. I believe when it retrogrades back, because it'll retrograde in the fall, I think it's going to retrograde back to this conjunction point. So this is a transit that has legs. Something is only just getting seated now that we're probably going to see come back up again in the new year, and then obviously into the summer of 2026, where Venus and Jupiter will meet again. So this week, guys, my cosmic souls, what a week, right? I'm just hoping it's just all sugar plums and gumdrops and lots of love and indulgence, because I feel like we've kind of gone through the ringer over the last couple of months. So I'm hoping that it's just as warm and loving and abundant as it looks, and that the universe is really supporting us when it comes to nurturing our hearts and dreaming big. So whether you're manifesting money, love, or just more emotional security, I think this is really your moment to lean into that magic, trust your intuition, and obviously take the practical steps towards your goals and pay attention to what your gut's telling you. I hope this is helpful for you guys in planning the week ahead. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click that bell button below if you want to see more of my content. We've got my Sunday sermon, my astro weather every Sunday, new and full moon reports. We've got eclipses coming next month, so you definitely want to subscribe to that. And now we've got all kinds of new content that's being sprinkled out there. So thank you guys so much for your support, for your feedback, for your shares. And until next week, I will see all of you guys very soon. Enjoy this extra sweet conjunction, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.